Lost on opening day to Gardner-Webb, so Britt, maybe that into this Buccaneer team.
And I think it does. I mean, anytime you're in a league and you see someone in your league, even picked lower than you, they were picked 8th, Gardner-Webb was. Charleston Southern's picked 6th to finish in their conference. Get a good win against an SEC team. I mean, that builds confidence. You might not want to talk about it a lot, but you're going to say, hey, if they can do it, we can too. Confidence that they're bringing into this game.
Opening possession, the Gators turn it over. They have had issues with turnovers this year. They come in lower 3rd in turnover margin this year. They average 15.5 turnovers per game. Here's Charleston Southern. They're coming off a loss 11 days ago to the College of Charleston. Meanwhile, an offensive foul is called. And Buccaneer front court will be Lexi Cassell, seeing her first start of the year, picking up the offensive foul.
That's just something that they're going to have to control. That's counted as a turnover. And they do not want to turn the ball over against this Florida team.
Here's Arielle Johnson seeing her 3rd straight start in her freshman season. Has really had a resurgence on offense. Has gotten more comfortable as the year has gone along. Here's somebody who's been comfortable all year, and Nakasoglu finds more on the perimeter for 3. Now in transition, bodies tangle as Keke Smith undercuts Brianna Breches. And Smith will be tagged with the foul. Meanwhile, for Charleston Southern, we talked with their head coach, Fred Applin, before this one. He's in his 7th season. He used one word to try and describe the theme of this team. That's hungry. What
they have to be. And it's a funny word, hungry. You want to be hungry to play. You want to be hungry to get those wins. And that's what he kind of talked about and alluded to, is they're still trying to find their niche, where they are. They're really upper class heavy. They've got a lot of seniors on their roster, but they're still trying to find how they piece together in this season. And that's one way to start, knocking down a huge 3.
Scoring list is Rachel Burns. She knocks down the 3. Rachel Burns averaging in double figures for the Buccaneers, gives them an early 3-0 lead. Now it's Johnson once again on the perimeter.
And if you're Florida here, you want to get a good start. You want to get that offensive flow, and that's one way to do it. Get the ball in Funda's hands. Let her attack. Let her create for this Florida team, because really, they're kind of how she goes. If she starts off strong, everybody else has that confidence. When she's shooting the ball well, and that's something that she's doing great this year, is finishing at the rim. From the field, she's shooting 51%. From 3, she's shooting 50%.
I mean, the numbers, Britt, are absurd.
It's crazy.
So
I mean, just consistency that she's shooting the ball, whether it's inside the arc or it's outside.
Scoring in the SEC, she's one of 7 transfers on this roster. Transfer from Utah State, had a good season last year. Did Nakasoglu, averaged 15 points per game for the Gators. Now the jumper at Shelby Wilbanks, can't collect.
We talked about Johnson, just the role she's been playing, especially stepping up on the road and getting that starting position, earning that starting position, and then still producing.
Here's Nakasoglu, wide open, it's Keke Smith. Can't drain the 3, Moore goes over the top, and that will draw a whistle on Christina Moore. Now, the motto has always been, and it continues to be, chuck it from the cheapskates for this Florida team. That's in a program record last year in 3-point attempts. But they have not, besides Funa Nakasoglu, Britt, shot it well from distance. They shoot it 30% as a team.
Yeah, I mean, and that Funa not really produce offensively. It's because teams have honed in on her, face guarded her, and not allowed her to get those shots off. Because like you said, no one else is really shooting at a high percentage behind the 3-point line. And that's something that they're looking to change, talking about going into SEC play. That's something definitely. But Johnson's someone who has been shooting the ball pretty confidently behind the 3-point line. She doesn't get as many attempts as Funda, but she is shooting it well.
Extra step for Funa Nakasoglu. Also of note, Delisha Washington now in the game for the Gators, who did not play last time out against UNLV. Washington, somebody who can be a game changer for this team as well.
And I think, seeing that new role coming off the bench is going to, change the way that she's looking at the game. And I think that's what Florida wants. And like you talked about, she has the ability and the athleticism to change the game, whether that be defensively or offensively, knack to find the ball on rebounds. She is one of the best rebounders for this Florida team.
On the other end, it was Cassell only taking her 4th 3 attempt of the year. Here's Moore from distance. Can't cash in. Jackson looking to flag down Charleston Southern. They come in as the 4th best offense in the Big South. Promptly a travel on Brianna Breches in transition.
And turnovers, that's the little bugaboo right now for Charleston Southern. And when you're on the road against an SEC opponent, you can't turn the ball over. 4 turnovers in this game. Each team has 2.
Buccaneers looking for their first win over a Power 5 opponent since the 2011-2012 season. Game against Clemson. Again, they've seen a Big South team this year come on the road and beat the Gators. Gardner-Webb on opening day, what was a 2-point win. Here's Williams inside, who's played well, especially on that 3-game road trip. They get Williams on the foul after trying to collect her own miss.
And that's 2 over-the-back calls for Florida early on. You can see that there's a mindset of getting those rebounds. It's now you just have to be a little bit more careful about how you're going to get them, because calling that aggressive move to get the rebound on the offensive end.
So Williams tagged with her first. Gators off to an 0-for-4 shooting start. Here's Jackson, team's leading scorer. Cassell seeing her first start of the year. Hands off for Wilbanks, who buries the 15-footer. Transfer from Northeast Mississippi Community College, one of 6 seniors on this team, Britt.
Yeah, they have a lot of seniors on this team here, looking through the roster and saying, well, I mean, they're going to lose a lot going into next season. That's why they really want to try to find their niche now while they have all these seniors in the leadership. You talked about the leadership that they bring when you have that many seniors on your team.
Delisha Washington fouled underneath. That's the 3rd team foul on the Buccaneers.
See on the replay, just fighting for the offensive rebound and then just fouled.
Rachel Burns was tagged with a foul, so 2 free throws coming up for Washington. Hits the first.
And that's something she's kind of struggled with from the free throw line this season. So to see her come in, knock down that first, really does bring a lot of confidence. But we talked about her rebounding at the line. Was her rebounding that backside?
Gators only shot it on that road trip, Britt, 57% from the line.
It definitely has to improve. And one of the things, too, is they don't find themselves at the line that often. There's games where they go in stretches where they don't even go to the line in the first half. And I think some of that is because they shoot from outside a lot, aggressive going to the basket.
Rachel Burns on that 3 attempt. Now Gators back on the other end. It's Nakasoglu all the way to the cup.
And just her ability to create around the basket, it just amazes me.
Gators' first field goal make of the game, now 1 of 6 from the floor. Next stoppage brings an official timeout.
I see Florida electing to go to a little bit of a zone right now. Kind of stretch that offense out. You can see how far Florida's pulling their guards out to make them run their offense further out from the 3-point line where they're a little bit more uncomfortable.
Tied at 5, official timeout on the floor with 4:35 to go in the first.
You're fighting back and forth, and yeah, it was a tournament, but it happened to be, really was a home game for UNLV. So it was like Florida was going to a neutral site. And that one, again, just kind of slipped away in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Here's Nakasoglu, limited space, can't knock down Washington there for the rebound, who lays it in.
Again, we just talk about her ability to find the ball off the rim. And good shooters. Funda's a great shooter. Good shooters, great shooters have reboundable basketballs. And they're going to come off that far side. You see she shot it from the right side of the court. It bounced off perfectly on the left. And once you start playing with teammates like that, you can read when they're going to miss. But even
Keke Jackson quickly with the answer. 1,000-point scorer for Charleston Southern. Got that 1,000th point against North Florida. This is a Buccaneer team that played well with Georgia, an SEC opponent. Only lost by 8 in that game.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's, again, a confidence booster for them. They're saying, hey, you know, we played Georgia so tight. This is another SEC school. We can come in here and we can play. If we play like we did there, we're giving ourselves a chance. And that's what they're doing. They're giving themselves a chance. They're staying with it. It's a 7, causing the ball to turn over for Florida. They got to take care of the basketball, but they have ball players on their team.
Meanwhile, that was the 3rd Gator turnover. Mentioned they average around 15 per game. But in that Georgia game, they had the lead going into halftime. Just couldn't keep it up in the latter 20 minutes on the road. Now it's Washington in transition. Here's Keke Smith, who drives in, well off the mark on a floater. Last touch, Paige Robinson underneath. We've seen the development of that 5 spot for the Gators, whether it's been Paige Robinson or Zeta Williams. And the one thing for those two in this offense has been, one, trying to get more comfortable shooting that perimeter shot, but finishing the steal and the bucket.
again, what Washington brings. It's that speed, it's that athleticism.
Alicia Washington, her 13th steal, averages north of 1 steal per game. Gives the Gators the lead. Now it's Rachel Burns trying to tiptoe near Coach Cam on that sideline. There's Breches, a JUCO transfer from Arizona Western College. High arcing shot. The Gators control.
And Brecht is a player who she didn't play early in this season, coach's decision, but she's come back and she puts in a lot of minutes. She had 29 minutes the last game out, and she can really be a game changer for this program. So they've got to keep an eye on.
This time Rainey driving in, good look, but not a good catch.
That's when Rainey coming in, and you're just not used to playing together quite yet in game time situations. But what a great read and a great find.
They dump it down low. Here's Kelsey Ruff-Mills, who finds her teammate Wickman, lays it up and in.
And when you're pressing, you've got to be able to get back. Because if you're pressing and you beat that first line, then you have no what Charleston Southern had, so the rotation has to be on point. Florida a little bit late on their rotation, and it led to a layup.
Another turnover for the Gators, number 5 in terms of giveaways, as Breches can't knock down a 3 and get a rebound. Here's Zeta Williams all the way to the rim, lays it in and one.
And what a pass in transition. Keke Smith, what she brings to the floor, her court vision, her court IQ, and then the post player running down the middle of the lane. You leave it open for your bigs, a great find and feed in transition.
Keke Smith, team best in assists coming in. That's what you want to see from your ability to run the floor and score in transition.
And with her addition this year, I think that's really allowed Funda to be from behind the three-point line. Because last year, she had to run some of that one as well as Delisha. But when you're having to run the one, put everybody in position, and then find your shot, it's really kind of opened her up. So she can run down the court. She can get screens, run off screens, find the positions that she wants. And Keke Smith, she's an unselfish basketball player. She can score the basketball. She's a scoring point guard, but she looks to pass and get her teammates open.
Breches ran into Zeta Williams and just threw one off glass, and it goes right back towards Florida. Meanwhile, Funda Nakasoglu and Ariel Johnson check back in. Both of these teams trying to settle into this game, and you always talk about the long layoff, right?
Yeah.
You can either play really well or have the latter.
It really is. It's one of the two. Either you come in and you're shooting lights out because you've had a break. It's those times when you've taken off a little bit. It's almost like in pickup games when you haven't played for a couple weeks and you come out and you just shoot lights out. And then there are those times where you're really, really rusty. And right now, both teams, not really, really rusty, but they're still trying to find their groove in this game.
Jula Veras' 3 is rejected. Mornay, as she takes it all the way towards the cup on the other end and banks it in. To Mornay, the native of Miami, Florida, doing it all on that trip to make it a one-point game. Now it's Nakasoglu. For a 3, left it short. The Charleston Southern rebound is corralled by Sharita Godfrey. Final 23 seconds of the opening 10 minutes. Buccaneers can hold for the final shot and try to claim the lead through 1.
You can see Florida changing it up, going man this possession to throw Charleston Southern off a little bit, but not shaken. It knocks down with a hand in her face.
Rainey, she gets it off in time, can't hit at the horn, and through 1, Charleston Southern on the road. The Dan Mullen era of success, 10 wins for the football program.
I think there's a lot of happy Gators with his hire.
Also, Gators men's basketball here at home with a decisive win over Butler yesterday, so Gator Athletics getting the perfect 2-for-2 sweep.
And they also had the game rolling in the arena before they started against Butler, which was a nice atmosphere because on one of those picks, just the crowd erupted in here, and the game hadn't even started.
Meanwhile, Whitney to Mornay will head towards the line. Paige Robinson whistled with her first personal, just underway.
And this is the first free throw that Charleston Southern has shot all game. First time they find themselves at the line, and that's something Coach Cam has talked about, how to send people to the line. Florida isn't a team that is foul heavy. They're very disciplined in their guarding players. Around the basket, they're disciplined to stand straight up. Don't try to block a lot of shots because that's where a lot of fouls come. Because when you're straight up, a lot of times players miss around you because they're expecting you to jump. They're expecting you to adjust, and they just stand straight up. And as a result, not a lot of foul calls down around the basket for Florida.
Meanwhile, an open look for Danielle Rainey. An air ball that goes out of bounds. And we always talk about the word, and Danielle playing only her 4th game. First home game for her. You have to think maybe the jitters are there.
A little bit. You know, you're coming in and you've gotten a little bit. It's kind of nice on the road when, you know, a lot of your fans get those first couple games under your belt, so you step in here with a little bit more confidence.
Meanwhile, the Gators get a block shot as Nakasoglu goes all the way to the rim and hit hard as she lays it in.
How she didn't get fouls on some of those plays is just questionable to me.
Nakasoglu with 4 points. Washington leads the way with 5. She's getting set to check in. There's Tiara Steed, looks towards the corner. 3 through the air for Godfrey. And down for Bretches in a reset. She'll quickly load up and knock down the triple.
3 signed to her head saying, hey, I'm here to play, knocking down a big shot. Like you said, this is just her 4th game of the season. So she's looking to make an impact and trying to get more and more minutes.
Bretches seeing her 3rd straight start at the point guard position as the Gators once again turn it over. We saw 7 total turnovers in the first 10 minutes. And for the Gators, that's number 6, as they'll have a trio of substitutions come in. It's Keke Smith, Zeta Williams, and Delisha Washington as Bretches and Godfrey exit for Charleston Southern.
We talked about how Charleston Southern wanted to take care of the basketball. That's something that they're focusing on because they know they can't have 25-plus turnovers like they did the last game out in order to play well. But Florida on the flip side, they've got to take care of the thing about SEC play. You cannot turn the ball over that many times and get wins because the opportunities are shortened and shortened with the skill level in the SEC.
Meanwhile, Charleston Southern takes a 5-point lead as Jackson hit the jumper. Kelsey Ruff-Mills picking up the foul. There you see Fred Applin, and he started out his tenure. This is it. The Buccaneers went 0 for 42 overall in the first 2 years. First 3 years were 1-67. Lost their first 50 conference games. 17, they had an 18-win campaign and won 11 games in conference. So it's a program trending in the right direction.
And that builds character. And that builds character and gives you the opportunities for experiences like this. You see, they're playing with confidence, up 22-14 against Florida.
Meanwhile, Jackson hits the
3 points right now. Somebody's got to step up. They need somebody else to hit a shot.
Meanwhile, Keke Jackson starting to heat up for the Buccaneers with 7 points. Gators beat the backcourt pressure, now settle in the half court. Nakasoglu with the team best 6 points. Shot clock eroding. Nakasoglu on the drive, taps it out towards Moore with 5 to shoot. It's Washington inside for Williams at the cup and 1.
And Williams playing with a lot of confidence on the road. She had some great games, and she won all tournament team in the Duel of the Deserts. And I think that confidence that she brings from those games, she had games where she straight points off of plays just like this. A drive to the basket, and she's finishing strong around the basket, not expecting the foul, but finishing through the foul. So she gets the 2 points, and you know what? If you go to the line, it's a bonus.
Jackson picks up her first, and Williams, if she can consistently score around the rim, you'd have to think she'd be consistently more important.
And that's what you want. You go into SEC play, you're going to have.
Washington with the flat-out steal. Another turnover on the day for Charleston Southern, number 4. Well, for the Gators, they've had 7 giveaways so far. Here's Danielle Rainey, and it's strip 3 and regains. Now it's Washington on a 3, you bet.
They counted that at 2. Her foot was over the worst shots in basketball. When your foot's on that line, you just can't stand it. But, you know, Washington's someone who's really kind of struggled from the 3-point line in the season early on. So if they could get her going in this game, that'll really bode well for them.
Meanwhile, Charleston Southern has hit their last 3 shots. There's a difficult shot for Jackson.
Wow, Jackson just showing her athleticism to be able to rise up with a hand in the face and knock down that, like, floater towards the baseline.
So 9 for Jackson. Good for a game best.
And Jackson, a player, she had 14 against Georgia. So she's not afraid of the SEC foe. And she's going to come in here with that confidence, trying to best that.
Beautiful look from Nakasoglu. Williams could not corral underneath. It's Washington picking up the loose change. We've seen the impact from Delisha Washington after not playing the last game of that road trip. Here it's Jackson, quick one and done. Hayes starting to pick up a little bit. Now it's Rainey coast to coast. Last touch, Charleston Southern, will be Florida basketball. Meanwhile, Paige Robinson comes in and Zeta Williams will exit.
And I think in that glimpse, you saw her ability to change speeds. She changed speeds right at half court, adjusted what she was doing to get to the rim. Coach Cam kind of wanted to foul on that layup, but it's one of those you got to finish either way. But luckily for Florida, they get the ball back.
Danielle Rainey, who sat out the fall semester after transferring over from TCU, played in 11 games for the Horned Frogs, star prospect coming out of high school. Meanwhile, Ariel Johnson has come in for Rainey, makes a difficult catch here. Dumps it down low, wide open is Washington, just missed the bunny. Second effort doesn't go. Last touch, Florida underneath.
And those are the bunnies we talked about, you gotta hit. And you get two opportunities point blank by the basket, whether there's contact or not. You gotta be able to hit those, but get 2 extra rebounds. But look at that, little mossed on that catch.
They just lost her backside block.
Yeah. It's one of those, you got to know where the inbounder is. The sneaky inbounder in. I like the find afterwards, but you got to hit the shot.
Rachel Burns on a 3 for Ariel Johnson. Gators have trimmed it to 4. Johnson dribbles it out of bounds off her shoe.
And again, another just uncostly turnover. You know, there's no defense really there. It just dribbles off. Those are the ones you really want to be able to get back.
Keke Smith comes in, coming out as Christina Moore. For number 8 now for the Gators in this first half. Buccaneers, a lead once at 8, has been trimmed down to 4. Rachel Burns driving in, had it not. Delisha has been very active in this first half on both sides of the floor.
And you know, sometimes when you have to sit out and you see it from see different mentality when you come in that next game.
Mornay athletically trying to strong off glass. Charleston Southern an 11-8 scoring edge in the second 10 minutes. Here's Johnson. Keke Smith trying to develop her shot her first year as a Gator. Now it's Nakasoglu around a moving screen. Keyword moving. Offensive foul on Paige Robinson.
That's one of those you have to be disciplined and stay put. I know you want to roll to the basket. You want to try to get that opening, and you want to try to get Funda open. But you got to stay put and allow her to move off of you.
Paige Robinson, very much a raw talent. Somebody that can certainly be molded here. Laura Harper, the kind of deals with the front court players for Florida and the development of them. Robinson will take a seat. Washington also out. There's Keke Jackson. This Bretch is well too tall for Tierra Steed.
So trying to get a high on-ball screen on the wing and a roll to the basket, covered well by Florida, not allowing her off of the screen, defended well both on ball and off.
Meanwhile, for the Gators, they've had turnovers in 5 of their last 9 possessions, including 3 straight possessions with a giveaway. Now it's Nakasoglu hitting late stages in the shot clock for Williams amidst 3 blue jerseys and a whistle late and a foul underneath. It'll be Rachel Burns who picks up the personal. That's her second.
And you can see Charleston Southern, their game plan, defend the three-point line right now. Anytime the ball is swung around the perimeter, they have a hand in the face. And 8 for Florida, and as a result, Florida has not hit a 3 yet, 0 for 8.
Now it's Rainey all the way towards the rim. Gators' offensive struggles continue. Last touch near the midcourt line for Charleston Southern. They give it right back. Gators for the game now, 8 of 23. And like you said, Britt, 0 of 8 from deep.
And that's never a good sign for Florida, because really that offense is from the three-point line, because that offense from the three-point line produces confidence inside the paint.
Did see a bit of a transition on that 3-game road trip in terms of points in the paint for this team, and that's along with the development of Zeta Williams as well at that 5 spot.
And that's what opens up the three-point line more, because when teams come in, they know the Struder. They know Funda's on the court, and she's trying to get open, trying to get that three-point shot off. And as a result, when they guard her that tight, you saw it right there. Fake, dribble in, help comes, she just crosses over and finishes to the basket. She's not set. She's not a shooter that's saying, hey, if I don't get my three, I'm not getting anything else. She adjusts her game and finds a way to get to the basket and get points for her team.
Meanwhile, foul underneath on Ariel Johnson for the Buccaneers. They have a scoring drought nearing 3.5 minutes. Once led by 8, it's been trimmed down to 2 as Christina Moore comes in for the orange and blue.
You can see just an undisciplined rebound, a shove in the back, and that's one of those things, the freshman, you can't make those mistakes going into the SEC. This right there, you got to rein it in. There's no reason for you to just shove somebody out of bounds when you have no position at all.
Nakasoglu along 2, drains it.
Again, a toe on the line. We've got 2 of those here this afternoon, both of which they'd like to take 1 little inch back to get a 3, so still no 3 for Florida, but that tying it up and trying to sway the momentum on your side if you're Florida.
6-0 run for the Gators. Nakasoglu, the lone player in this game in double figures. And once down by 8, have tied it up. Charleston Southern has gone ice cold. Here's to Mornay. Williams snacks it away.
The wrong time to go ice cold if you're Charleston Southern. You had the momentum on your side, but if you're Florida, you've changed the tides and the person who's chaining them.
Final minute 14 for the half. And the scoring drought now at 5 minutes for the Buccaneers. Here's Jackson trying to snap that. There was some contact, no whistle, got her own miss. And we'll get a chance to snap that scoring drought at the free throw line.
And that's what you want. If you don't have a good look, you say, hey, attack the basket, force them to foul you. We've got to find a way to get points. Better if it's stopped right now because, you know, they want to get it tied up going into halftime at least.
As Jackson's sophomore season, she averaged 15 points per game, and then her junior year, she dipped to 8.5 points per game, but she opted to get an Achilles surgery in that offseason after her sophomore campaign. So she was trying to come back from injury. Also, last year had to deal with a fractured nose, had to wear a mask for most of a lot of
bumps and bruises. And to push through Achilles, not a fun surgery to have to go through and to fight back from. It's a long rehab process, but you can see that she has that fighter's mentality they want, and that's what they strive for. Is we got to be fighters, and that's about being hungry. And she's a hungry player. You can see that with the comeback.
Now a 1-point game as we approach the final 50 seconds of the half. It's the final tune-up for both of these teams before conference play. Inside for Zeta Williams on that hook off the glass. At a 10-second differential. Here's Breches. Hands off to Mornay, who gets whistle with the charge. It's Danielle Rainey taking the contact.
And 2 back-to-back plays for this Florida team to boost that confidence. A great hook shot down low against the block, and then a defensive stop to close out. Second quarter, you can see the kind of takes one. Maybe a little flop in there, too. A little acting going on, a little flop head back, but she gets the call.
Shot clock's unplugged. Gators started the game 4-15. Since that point, 8 of their last 12. Here's Williams with the hook. That'll go.
And just back possessions offensively where she's scoring and producing for this Florida team.
Final 5 seconds. Nakasoglu at the horn. And that will do it for the opening 20 minutes, but a strong close for the Gators, who once trailed by 8 in the first half and lead.
Again, these moments, they just never grow old.
As we get underway here in the third, it's Nakasoglu from 3. Bigger performance in the first 20 minutes. For the Gators, this is their largest lead of the game at 5. It's Johnson, says why not, can't hit. She has been shooting it with more. The Gators go one and done. Here's Jackson, brilliant look inside for Wilbanks. Reversal banker true. Buccaneers. Shelby Wilbanks, somebody in high school who didn't think she had the speed, the athleticism to play as a Division I player, but here she is. She fought tooth and nail. She got a trainer as she continued to kind of grow her athleticism, and here she is in a Division I uniform.
And again, that's the fight, and that's what they look for at Charleston's desire to push through obstacles in order to play at the Division I level.
Here's Rachel Burns on the other end. Travel is called. Charleston Southern turns it over. That was the theme of the first half.
And hopefully for both teams, that's not the theme of the second half. However, it started off like that. Hopefully they can nip it in the bud.
The first half jitters maybe in the rust after both teams playing with some time off. Charleston Southern for today had not played for 11 days. Their last game was on December 19th. Here's Williams.
And you see Florida. They ended the half going inside to Zeta Williams, and they're starting the second half saying, hey, let's ride that until they can shut it down, because when you have that post presence inside, it opens. And right now, Florida's not getting the shot looks that they want from the three-point line because none of them have fallen. They're 0 of 10 right now from the three-point line, and they say, hey, we're going to have to go inside until we can get those to fall from outside.
Wrenches from deep cannot connect. Foul underneath. It's going to be on Rachel Burns. Well, for the Gators now, Britt, they have 24 points in the paint to 8 for Charleston Southern.
They've got to have those points in the paint, because when you're not shooting well from outside, it's got to come from somewhere. And I think they said, hey, if inside.
Meanwhile, of note, Rachel Burns now has 3 personal fouls, but Fred Applin will elect to keep her on the floor. She's the 20th all-time leading scorer in Buccaneer program history. Averages in double figures. Right now in some foul trouble.
And I think he knows how important it is for her to be on the court for them. They're still in this game. It's a tight game right now. And if she were to go off, I think he's afraid that the lead would balloon for Florida, because that's just a style of play that Burns is and what she brings to the floor. She's a preseason all-conference nomination, and she's averaging just under 11 points per game.
Meanwhile, it stays with the Gators, only 6 to shoot.
We talk about Burns and her offensive ability. She prides herself in defense. And so I think that's one of the big reasons he's keeping her on the floor, too, is because she's marked up right now with Delisha Washington, and he knows the athletic ability of Delisha Washington, and I think Burns can kind of match that, or what he thinks can match that in the defensive end, because he doesn't want Washington to explode the way that she can offensively if she.
Meanwhile, Christina Moore will head towards the line. Shelby Wilbanks picked up her second. And the free throw struggles for this team continue. Christina Moore, a native of Sydney, Australia. So she's bonded a lot with Funanaka Soglu from Hampton, Australia, in her freshman campaign.
I got a chance to, actually, and just the pride and the happiness that they have that she's being able to play here at a D1 school in the States, and just how much they appreciate Florida for giving her that opportunity. And also, they're talking about the similarities between Florida and Australia. Just, I think, she felt comfortable here because, the atmosphere is the same. It's the feeling that it brought.
Here's Shelby Wilbanks. Can't cash in. Ball knocked around for Rachel Burns, who slides through. Can't bank home. But not void of contact on the inside. Looks like Christina Moore will pick up the personal. And also for Christina Moore, the adjustment from the adjustment to the American game, I guess, is something that
it's a little different. I actually went from America to Australia, and difference in the game over there versus over here, and just the style of play, as well as some of the movements that might be called a travel, might not be called a travel. But I think, she's adjusting well when you have Funda, a fellow Australian, here on the team that you can kind of eye off of as far as like how to develop her game. But she's a player who, she prides herself in diving for loose balls. That's what she's about, and she'll say it to you too. That's what she finds a lot of joy in, is getting those loose balls, getting those extra rebounds. She's that blue collar player that, if she doesn't get the limelight, it doesn't faze her. If she gets it, it's a bonus, but that's not what she's playing for. She's playing to better her team any way that she can, and whatever sacrifices she has to make, she's willing to make.
Here's Washington on the drive with the teardrop. Took 2 hops off the rim. Wrenches trying to track down the loose ball, but he collects the loose ball and a recycled 30. Gators by 4. Nakasoglu slices in for Robinson. Can't finish at the cup. Trying to tiptoe the end line to keep it in bounds. Now it's Rachel Burns playing with those 3 personal fouls. Looks for Wilbanks, who attacks towards the rim. Wide open look, 3 for Lexi Cassell, who drains it. Doesn't shoot it from outside. Now, we'll say that's a 2 for Cassell. Doesn't shoot it from at least the perimeter, at least 19 feet away often. Did take a 3 in the first half, did Cassell. Makes it a 2-point game. Down the inside, this is an offensive foul on Paige Robinson.
And Cassell there, bodying up down low. She's trying to get position. She was using her arms a little bit too much, flailing around, and that's going to be a foul every time. You're going to get position, and instead of getting position from the waist down, It just throws an arm in there, and that's an easy call for the baseline ref. You've got to get low and establish your base down low, not with your arms, because when you do it with your arms as a post player, you get called for the foul more times than you don't.
Keke Jackson can't hit the jumper. Meanwhile, that was 3 on Paige Robinson. Washington trying to keep it in play. Head back towards Charleston Southern. Seen a lot of high-energy plays from Washington so far in this game. In her sophomore campaign, averaged in double figures for head coach Cam Neubauer. Here's Jackson off the curl. Hesitant drive from Jackson, hangs in the air and gets the roll. It's a tie game. Keke Jackson now with 12 points. Washington quickly on the other end. Thanks with the denial. Breches with the pull-up. It's pure. Buccaneers back on top.
And if you're Florida in transition, great decision. A layup by Washington on the flip side. You know, you contested them to a pull-up jumper. They didn't get a layup, but they knock it down, and that's a confidence that they're playing with right now, that they can pull up in transition and hit shots.
How about this, an 8-0 run? But the response from Zeta Williams cut right back up.
And I think right now, you know, that's where Florida's got to eat off of. They've got to go inside. Williams producing down low and finishing strong. Build that confidence and ride that wave until Charleston Southern does something different to stop her.
Zeta Williams, her 6th game in double figures with Buccaneers one and done on the other end. Now it's Nakasoglu. Again looking for that post entry towards Williams. It's Funda on a 3. You bet.
And you see right there that Williams is putting on down low. It came off of Funda. They put them both on the strong side together. She passed it in, passed it back out, and they had to suck in a little bit because she's producing down low, and that left just enough room for Funda to get a shot off, and that's all she needs. She needs an in and knock it down. Perfect basketball for Florida that last possession out.
Smith all the way to the rim, can't bank it home, but Williams is there and one.
And one, and with confidence, you see her nodding that off. Again, finishing strong to the bucket and getting that plus bonus foul.
So Zeta Williams now with 15 points. Gators had a 5-point lead going into the break, can have a 5-point lead at the official timeout.
And I mean, you're going to step in there. You got a great matchup, Kentucky versus Tennessee, to start off the SEC play. And it's going to be interesting. That's when teams start knocking each other. When you're ranked and you have to play each other so often, you're going to knock each other off. But you know, it's the toughness of the SEC, and that's why right now Florida, they're trying to find that toughness and that grit to get this win before you step into the SEC play.
Meanwhile, prior to that official timeout, the teams have traded 8-0 runs. And for Zeta Williams, she has 16 points right now. That ties for a career high. We had a foul called on Keke Smith. That's Gators starting point guard in a bit of foul trouble here in this third quarter. Gators by 6. It's their largest lead in this game.
Gators electing right now, stepping into a zone, stretching it out, kind of just slow Charleston Southern down, give them a different look. You can see, look a little bit puzzled about how they're going, where they're going to find their offensive production, running down that shot clock some, and it pays off.
Last touch, Charleston Southern will be Florida basketball. 5 right now for the Gators. It's Williams, Rainey, and Nakasoglu. Bulk of the production today coming from Williams, Nakasoglu, and Washington. Only one other player in the scorebook. That's Christina Moore.
Now the offensive production not coming from a lot of players from this Florida team. Rainey trying to get in on the action. Can't hit the 3, but you see the aggressive rebounding style for Florida, really attacking the rim to try to get the offensive putback or possession again, and that's exactly what they got. Sometimes the shots aren't falling, but it's that extra effort. Keke Smith, that extra effort to get in there.
Meanwhile, on an emotional day, Corey Staples checks in for her first minutes here in this third quarter. 5-second call on Nakasoglu. Well defended off the baseline entry from Charleston Southern. Meanwhile, the Buck 2 minutes, trying to cash in off the 13th orange and blue turnover. It's Breches from 3. She's not been shy. This time she hits.
With confidence against a zone press. Come a little opening, elects not to pass the ball inside. Pull up 3, knocks it down. The confidence that she's shooting that ball with. You got to have confidence when you're pulling 3 like that against a zone press.
Buccaneers now 4 of 13 from deep and made it a 1-possession game. Or entering for Christina Moore in a crowd. There's turnover number 14. Now it's Bretches again, and again she's not shy. This time she's fouled. For Bretches, that was her 12th field goal attempt.
Making up for lost time for missing a few games early in the season. She's coming in here with the green light, and you can see that again in transition, not afraid to pull up amongst Gators.
But again, you saw Charleston Southern fall down behind 5 going into the break, and they vote here on the road.
It's one of those, they're not backing down. They're not afraid, and I think that's the confidence they get from already having played an SEC foe in Georgia, and the confidence they get from their head coach and the mentality that he brings.
Bretches seeing her 3rd straight start at the point guard position, redshirted last year. Meanwhile, for the Buccaneers, Bretches comes out. Keke Jackson will re-enter. Now a 1-point game. Charleston Southern sits the break, has a edge in the 3rd quarter scoring margin. In front of the Gators 15-11 in this stanza as we hit the final 2 minutes of this 3rd. Here's Washington, goes to work. She prompted an occasion of Washington getting out of control, trying to drive the paint. There's a foul in transition.
Yeah, in that possession, she got caught in the air. Not sure. I think she was trying to look to pass it inside on a hook shot, but the defense had shut down the post player on the opposite side. And that's one of the risks of a jump pass, because once you're in the air, if the defense closes it out.
Meanwhile, Washington whistled with the foul, an important one because it sends Charleston Southern to the line and Rachel Burns. That was the 15th foul. As Christina Moore and Corey Staples exit, Drew Lavera and Williams back in. Rachel Burns, the native of Gainesville, but not Gainesville, Florida.
I saw that, and I was like, and it wasn't even Gainesville, Georgia either. Gainesville,
right.
Virginia.
It's a Gainesville in every state, I'm sure.
Gainesville everywhere, but nowhere like Gainesville, Florida.
Meanwhile, another lead change in this game as the Buccaneers have hopped back in front. Florida on 3 straight possessions have given it away. They've gotten a bit sloppy to end this 3rd. Here's Julavera, slices in towards the cup. Nice move towards the rim. It dances off.
But just unable to finish on that left side, being able to slide around that defense to finish on the left side, but couldn't get it to fall.
Here's Bretches in traffic. Left it short. Dumornay was fouled as she offered up towards the rim and will get 2 shots.
Now, Bretches is not shy about putting some shots up amongst defense. Luckily for her, she had a teammate down there taking the rebound for a putback and finding herself the line.
Whitney Dumornay, Howard Community College. Big-time shot blocker for this team. Knocks down the first.
And she's another preseason all-conference nomination because of her defensive ability to adjust the game. She's averaging 7.8 points, just under 8 points per game. She rebounds the ball well for them. She's a She makes free throws.
60% from the line. Charleston Southern by 3. Again, had a large lead of 8 in the first half. Here's Washington, pick and roll feed for Williams, and a crowd gets pinballed out. We'll stay with the Gators, 17 to shoot.
And again, that's one of those where it's not necessarily there. The role is there, but the defensive help was too much right there. So even if she caught right on her, it doesn't give her an opportunity to score the basketball. One of those where you might want to pull back, let the offense flow a little bit, and then find it on another roll or find that right there. Out of an underneath, out of bounds, that can get this Florida team back on schedule.
Gators have 2 3-point makes in this game, both from Funanaka Soglu. They're 2 of 13 from deep.
And both very timely, right when Florida needs them to try to change the tide of the game.
Meanwhile, for the Buccaneers, their last 6 points coming from the free throw line. Entry inside, knocked out by Julavera with 53.9 for the stanza.
And Julavera with a great defensive stand in there, reading the pass down low, following her man all the way there side. Great rotation by Florida last possession.
Offensive foul on Dumornay, trying to screen off the ball. That's the second on Dumornay. Over numbers. Points off turnovers, +8 in favor of the Buccaneers.
And that's concerning if you're Florida. That's something you want to slow down.
Nakasoglu, you bet, from deep. Right, Washington with the dime, and the Gators in front. 21 for Funa Nakasoglu, 7th game with 20-plus points, and here she takes the charge.
And that's another thing she's known for. She's known for hitting the threes in big-time situations, but you see it on the flip side. She posts herself up right about the foul line and gets the post player to run right into her and gets the charge called because she knows she's a veteran player. You leave the middle for your bigs, and she beats them down the floor, stands in strong, and she has gotten that call a handful of times already. Big three. You see the emotion that she's playing with. She's a senior, and she knows how important this game is for Florida to get before you go into SEC play.
And of note, Rachel Burns just picked up her 4th personal foul on that charge. About a 2nd differential. Gators essentially will hold for the final shot of this third, having taken a 3-point lead. 7 to shoot. Nakasoglu hounded by Steed. 3 to shoot. Now it's Williams, backs in, open look, Julavera at the shot timer horn, left it short, and the ball bounds out to end the 3rd quarter. Well, Jose third this year with an ankle injury. Gators, of course, missed her when she was out of the rotation.
And she's the only Florida player that's hit a 3. They have 3 threes, and they've all come from Funda.
Funda 3 of 6 from deep, 3 of 15 as a team. Well, Charleston Southern, Britt, they've always seemed to have answers in these situations when Florida has claimed momentum. It's Dumornay with the jumper. That's Nakasoglu. In transit, Julavera. Lost the dribble, ball is loose. And the Gators now settle in the half court.
And I think right now it's important really for both teams. Who can keep the momentum on their side?
Here's Williams, who was fouled inside. And for Zeta Williams, who has already tied a career high with 16 points, get a chance to eclipse that at the free throw line. And we've seen this team all year, Britt, and they've had their 4th quarter struggles coming in. They've been outscored by opponents in this to 209. It's been the confidence in closing out games for this young team.
And I think that's why right now, starting the 4th quarter, it's so important. It's so important for Florida to set the tempo, to set the mindset of how they're going to play this 4th quarter because of the struggles that they. On the flip side, Charleston Southern, they want to keep this. They don't want this lead to explode right now starting the 4th quarter, but we've seen they have the fight and the ability to get back in the ball game.
Shooting at the free throw line now, 4 of 5 for the game. Gators have had 11 free throw attempts. Here's Jackson all the way to the rim. She's had a quiet second half.
That's when if you're Charleston Southern, you're really going to want to get back. Like if that was an open lane, you split the defense. On the left-hand side, you just kind of missed that short little bunny layup.
Jackson only 2 points in this second half after having 10 at halftime. Inside again, it's Williams.
Positioning yourself a little bit too low on that last possession. You want to post up a little bit higher so you go. And again, just a questionable pull-up shot in transition.
Verbrecht is now 3 of 13 from the floor. Gators trying to find their 4th home win of the season, come in an even 3-3 here inside Exact Tech Arena. It's Smith, her pass deflected for a spinning Williams. Her balance underneath her to lay that one in.
If you're Charleston Southern, you really want to take your time and get a good look at the basket because this possession is important for them.
Here's Wilbanks along the baseline, 1 and done.
You can see Florida on the flip side, slowing it down a little bit, not pushing it in transition, running some of that clock down.
Here's Washington with space. Can't hit the jumper. Will be Buccaneer basketball. Meanwhile, Christina Moore checks in. Gators all time against the Big South Conference are 8-2. Again, that loss to begin the year to Gardner-Webb. Big South team. And then kickoff ended off with Alabama coming up on the road on Thursday coming up. Another balanced year in the SEC around the league. Charleston Southern, their last 3 possessions, all 1 and done. Don't have a field goal make in the last 9. Here's Kelsey Ruff Mills, who ends that athletically off the window.
And Ruffnell is a player who she coming off of just a high on-ball screen, the athletic ability to adjust her body around the rim to finish.
Inside 7 minutes to go. Still a one-possession game. Here's Washington. Got bumped by Tierra Steed.
I think that foul saved Florida in that possession. Players not in the right position. You see Coach Cam on the sideline. He was trying to move players to where they were supposed to be. So really a bailout foul, I think. Delisha Washington with the drive. Because, again, they know that each possession right now, closing out this game, is very important.
Here's Washington, who's not scored in this second half. Shovels it off for Jula Vera. Nice look. Couldn't finish in Troy. Chance to tie on this trip. Here's Bretches along the perimeter for Wilbanks. Tacks on more spinning hook. That was nice from Shelby.
Great patience. She didn't. You could tell she didn't really want that jumper inside, but the patience on the spin move around with the double team kind of coming, she gets it off just in time.
Wilbanks has started in the last 3 games at that 4 spot for the Buccaneers. Here's Christina Moore, dips in, can't bank home. Now it's Jula Vera fading away, and she is fouled, and will head towards the free throw line.
Wilbanks, an undersized player. She knows how much fight she's going to have down low. You saw that offensively on the last possession down, just taking her time. Defensively, just gets caught off guard a little bit.
So Jula Vera, the native of Brazil, heading towards the line, hits the first. Jula Vera is somebody that the staff is trying to grow her confidence a little bit more. They feel like she can be a presence on the offensive side.
I mean, absolutely. I think, again, someone from another country trying to get the feel of the American game, it's a little bit different. But you can see she's a ball player. Just the way that she can pass and she moves on the court. She knows how to play the game, a high basketball IQ. I think it's about her just getting comfortable with her teammates on the floor.
Gators extend it back to 3. For Jula Vera, first 2 points of the game. Here's Bretches around Smith in the paint. To Hopera.
It's a big rebound for the freshman, then almost turns it over by the pressure in Charleston Southern.
We'll stay with the Gators as Jula Vera comes out. Christina Moore enters in. It's been a high-energy day for Brianna Bretches.
And she knows each possession right now, and they haven't hit a lot of shots in the fourth quarter. That's got to change for them if they want to get a win.
We head towards the midway mark in this final quarter. There's Washington for Nakasoglu, 21 points. Washington, late closeout, and a foul is called on Sharita Godfrey.
Good ball movement around the perimeter. You see Funda got it. She didn't have a position. She reversed it around the top, pointing to Moore, saying, hey, one more over, because the defense had sucked way over. She knew it on the penetration in. It drew the high. Both of those high guards in the zone drew over to Funda's one reversal. So she told her freshman, reverse it one more time, because Delisha's going to be open on that wing. And that's what you have to do. When you're playing against a zone from the wing position, you can't just sit out there. You can't just say, hey, I'm going to sit out here and get some shots up. You've got to attend those 2 guards. That opens it up on the far side, and that's what happened.
Washington, second of 3. Sends the Gator lead to 4. Washington now in double figures for the 9th. Has scored in 62 straight games that she's played in her Gator career. Ruff Mills running the offense. Now it's Godfrey that attacks in the lane. Off balance shot, rebound.
And Florida right now holding Charleston Southern to 1 and done. That's what they got to do. They're altering the shots that they're taking. They're not taking great shots offensively, and Florida's getting the rebound and able to put it back on the offensive end and run some of that clock down.
Here's Williams heading. Again, Charleston Southern, another chance to chip away to that point. Britt, Charleston Southern has had 5, now 6. of their 8 in the fourth quarter.
Not great decisions offensively. That shot was not a great decision to take in the shot clock. Yeah, you gotta score quick right now. You can't run down the shot clock if you're Charleston Southern, but you can get a little bit better of a look than that.
This is a team with a lot of veterans on it, 6 seniors on this team, so you don't expect those types of mistakes as Washington steps out on that familiar play they like to run as Funda was in the corner, but turnover for the Gators, and they hold on to a 5-point lead. Nail-biting time in Gainesville. Kasoglu, outstanding field goal percentage, totaled 39 points for this Gator team.
They're really carrying the team today. You've got 3 players really doing that. Washington chipping in as well. She's got 11.
Williams a career high today as Charleston Southern turns it over. 14th giveaway for Fred Applin and the Buccaneers.
And he said that's one of the things they can't do. They cannot turn the ball over like they have in previous games and expect to win this game.
Last time out, turned it over 25 times. Rainey's 3 left short. She's still scoreless. Rebound for Delisha Washington. But Coach Applin had said it's been a tale of 2 teams this year. They played some very well disciplined games, but then last time out turned it over 25 times. That was a season high. Here's Nakasoglu. And off from Williams on a 3 from deep.
And when she starts feeling it, and when she gets an inch, she can knock it down. And that's what we've seen here today. Given just an inch, she lets it fly and she knocks it down. She has all of Florida's 3-point makes here this afternoon.
Game best now at 8. Working with Zeta Williams.
Creating a little rub brush off screen off of a handoff because she didn't have anything off the initial screen. That's your post player just standing strong and being aware that she has the hot hand.
Efficient numbers that we've become accustomed to for the Australian. 9 of 12 for the game. Here's Williams, minimal space. Out towards Wilbanks. Gators on a 7-0 run. Game best 8-point lead. Buccaneers need offense. Final 2.5 to go. They want to pull off this upset on the road. They'll need Keke Jackson to get going offensively. A launch on a 3 and right on cue.
That's what they need. They've got to fight to get back in this because the clock is ticking right now, but it's very much still a ball game.
Jackson now with 15, 2 in double figures for the Buccaneers. It's a 5-point game. Now Rainey slides inside, hangs in the air, fouled in mid-flight. Rainey will get 2 shots.
If you're going to take it in like that early in the shot clock in a game right now, the way that it is a 5-point ball game, you've got to either make it or find yourself at the line.
And hitting free throws down the stretch, that's been an issue for this. Here's Danielle Rainey, who's been held scoreless. Her first is true. Head coach Cam Neubauer looking for his 15th win as Gator head coach in his second season. 6 overall year as a head coach, came over from Belmont where he had tremendous success. Rainey hits both. 7-point game. Pass knocked out by Keke Smith.
And I like the aggressive play defensively still by Florida. Active hands, not allowing Charleston Southern to get quick, easy looks. They put a little bit of a token press on just to slow them down a little bit or really speed them up. Not really slow them down, but speed them up.
Here's Rachel Burns, who was hand checked by Delisha Washington, who didn't like the call. That's Washington's 3rd. The Gators only their 1st team foul.
But you see, because Florida is a team that doesn't foul that often, even a foul right there doesn't send, and most someone to the foul line right now with a little hand check foul, but Florida disciplined in the way that they do not foul.
Smith again knocks it out. Active hands for Keke Smith on this trip. Who's a plus defender for this team, probably one of the better defenders on this group.
She's very active with her hand, quick on her feet, which allows her to kind of play off the ball, but be able to recover to get to a lot of tips.
Banks for Burns on a 3. Left out for Nakasoglu, who's bumped in backcourt by Keke Jackson. And
probably the one person for the Florida team you don't, if you're Charleston Southern, you want to foul in the backcourt.
2 shots coming up for Nakasoglu as the Gators are in the bonus. Florida has hit 10 of their last 11 free throws. 24 points Her season high is 26, came against Northwestern.
Tie it if she hits both of these. But career high here, 37. So she can score the basketball.
Nakasoglu hits both, tying 6 points. Now it's a 9-point game, more backcourt pressure. Buccaneers get it into the front court. Double comes on Burns, still looking, fires it away for Jackson. Open look on a three, she got it. They had to have it. Top score.
They had to have it, and that's what they needed, and that's what you get when you're going to trap that high up in the half court. You're going to leave someone open, and they left them open but knocked it down.
1 minute remaining.
They foul once again, Britt. Funa Nakasoglu.
She was trying to get rid of it because she knows if they can pass the ball around, the clock ticks a lot quicker.
So another trip to the line for Nakasoglu. That was 4 on Shelby Wilbank.
And she's someone who she really prides herself in her ability to knock down free throw shots. She does not like it when she misses from the important those are in a game, in a team, but she just does not like it at all. In one of the practices earlier this year, I think she was 76 of 78 when they were doing a little drill during practice, and she wasn't happy with those 2 misses that she missed in there.
Just a pure. Now with 28 points. Back to an 8-point game. Final 50 seconds. Breches off balance halfway down. Rebound for Keke Smith. And the Gators home. As Smith, the one who was fouled by Keke Jackson.
And you see the excitement on the floor players. It's just kind of a sigh of relief. A tough road skid where you had 3 games, 2 of which you had the chance to close out on the road, falling a little bit short. To come here before SEC play into sigh of relief, and that's what they need, and the confidence they need before stepping in to SEC play.
Gators will take on Alabama on Thursday. You can watch that on the SEC Network Plus. Then we'll have Auburn back here at home. Game best lead at 10. Final 40 seconds to go. With the loss, Charleston Southern will fall to 3-8 heading into Big South play. Here's Cassell with contact. And an and one as Williams took the contact underneath and is slow to get to her feet.
See again, Florida not shy and showing a little bit of a press down the stretch, up 10, still pressuring this Charleston Southern team. But you see the just little late rotation, and as a result, gets the blocking call down low.
I think the big storyline of this game coming out of it, one, of course, you have Funa Nakasoglu, but that has almost become expected of her. Yeah. Zeta Williams, a career high today. Just shows how dangerous she can be when she's finished.
And that's what Florida needs going into SEC. You've got to have a post presence because when you're going in, they're going to key in on Funda because they know for this Florida team. And she gets them going, and really as she goes, this Florida team goes. So expect tough defense. They're going to key in on her in the SEC. So to have Zeta Williams perform at the level that she is right now and the confidence that brings her going into SEC is going to be huge because we saw it here today. The inside-out play with her playing well, and then they can stack the strong side with Zeta Williams and Funda. So if they help off on Funda, she's going to be open if they double down on Zeta Williams. And if they don't, Zeta can go to work down low.
Meanwhile, Danielle Rainey with Southern still trying to extend this game. Rainey hits the first, all of her points coming from the foul stripe today. Gators, after starting at the free throw line 4 of 7, they've hit 17 of their last 8.
That's what you like to see. If you're a coach, down the stretch hitting shots, even when you don't start off that great.
In practice, if you don't hit your free throws, you have to run, and that's something this Florida program does, and I'm sure a lot of programs around the nation. Timeout on the floor. Both squads will talk it over.
31 to 12. They answer the call and they hit free throws down the stretch, and that's what's important. Down the stretch, you've got to be able to hit your free throws in close games.
How about the now with 20 points? Foul given promptly. Jackson's season high was 22. Brianna Breches picks up the foul.
Jackson's showing why she's another 1,000-point scorer for this Charleston Southern program. Her ability to get to the basket, her ability to finish strong, and her ability to just flat out score the basketball.
Soglu hits the first. Meanwhile, another strong defensive performance today from Florida. Try to hold low 60 points. Came in average giving up around 66.2 points per game.
Funda knocking in her career another.
Bretches fell down. Jackson unloads, left it short. And we'll see if Charleston Southern still elects to foul with 22.6 to go. Washington entry towards Zeta Williams. Is there a foul given? It is.
Yeah, and these are those fouls down the stretch. A lot of people always ask, why do you foul? Why do you foul when you're down 10 with 18 seconds left? And it's always, you know, coach's preference. Sometimes they do it to have teaching moments, to be able to set up your press on the other end because you don't know how it's going to adjust later in the season. And some, they just want to walk away and walk out because a closer game looks better. There's never really a great answer.
Washington hits the first. Washington played well on both sides of the floor today. Finish up with 9 rebounds, had 4 assists in 29 minutes. Now has 13 points. And another timeout on the floor, and Charleston Southern. Final 18 seconds. Skip feed for Steed. Final 8 seconds. Driving baseline is Burns. Will get the bucket with 6.3 to go. This is Rachel Burns. This time the Buccaneers will not opt to foul, and that should bring us to a close inside Exact Tech Arena. So the Gators knock off Charleston Southern to end non-conference play with a 10-point win. Your final, Florida 70 and Charleston Southern 60. Britt, your final thoughts?
I think it was a great win for Florida at home before the SEC. They had to fight through it in the first half, and they finished strong, and they got production from their stars.
Funanaka Soglu with a career-high 30-point performance. They'll be in action once again when they take on the